In 1985, the average American home cost 3.5 times the median household income. Today, it costs nearly 6 times. Same country, same dream, very different math. And right now, the salary you actually need to afford that median home is around $107,000 per year. The median household earns $84,000. So, by definition, the average American cannot comfortably afford an average house. That is not a fringe problem. That is the center of the economy, and it is broken. But here's the thing nobody says out loud. It is not just housing. Childcare costs have more than doubled since 1990. Healthcare keeps climbing. Rent in most major cities eats through a paycheck before the month is half over. And wages? Wages grew. Just not at the same speed. Not even close. Here's the thesis of this entire video, and it is simple. Normal adult life, a home, a kid, basic stability, used to be priced for what most people earn. It no longer is. The price of being a normal adult has been quietly raised above the income of a normal adult. And that gap is what your financial anxiety feels like on a Tuesday when you are doing everything right and it still does not add up. Let's start with the house, because it is always the house. Since the year 2000, home prices have risen 162%. Wages over the same period? 78%. Prices went up more than twice as fast as income. And if home prices had simply grown at the same rate as wages since 2000, the median home today would cost around $294,000, not $416,000. That extra $122,000 is not inflation. That is the gap. That is the thing that turned "I should probably buy a place soon" into "I guess I'll just rent forever." Now add the down payment math. To save 20% on a median home at a median income, you're looking at roughly a decade of perfect saving. No big purchases, no emergencies, no life. Just relentless discipline toward a target that keeps moving away from you. So it's no surprise that first-time buyers keep getting older. In the 1980s, the typical first-time buyer was in their late 20s. Today, multiple data sources put that figure somewhere in the early to mid-30s and rising. That is not a generational attitude problem. That is what happens when the price of the starting line keeps going up and the paychecks do not follow. But here's the part that really stings. The people who already own homes? They're fine. They're better than fine. American homeowners collectively hold over $17 trillion in home equity. The asset went up in value while they slept. The people who do not own, they paid for that appreciation. In rent, in missed down payments, in years spent waiting for prices to come back down, which they did not. Same economy, opposite outcome. And that's not an accident. Now let's talk about having a family, because if housing is the first wall, childcare is the second. Since 1990, childcare prices have gone up 263%. Overall inflation in that same period? About 133%. Childcare inflated at roughly twice the rate of everything else, including housing, including food, including your general willingness to check your bank balance. The national average cost of childcare in 2024 was $13,128 per year for one child, under 5. The U.S. government says childcare should cost families no more than 7% of their income. For a single parent at median income, it's running closer to 35%, not 7, 35. In most U.S. states, childcare for one infant costs more than in-state college tuition. You haven't left the hospital and you're already paying for a bachelor's degree. And then you run the math that a lot of parents quietly run. Is it actually cheaper to keep working and pay for childcare, or just stop working? For many families with 2 kids under 5, the numbers say stay home. The system has engineered a situation where having a job can cost more than not having one. That is not a personal choice. That is a structural failure that gets dressed up as a personal choice. So what's actually happening here? Why these specific costs? Here's the engine behind all of it. Some prices in America have collapsed. Electronics, clothing, streaming. The free market worked beautifully on the things you want. Your TV is cheaper. Your phone is faster. A computer that cost $3,000 in 2000 runs you $800 today. But the things you need to build a stable life, a place to live, healthcare, childcare, education, those have compounded upward for decades. And the reason is simple. You can choose not to buy a new TV. You cannot choose not to need somewhere to live. You cannot choose not to get sick. The less choice you have, the more you get charged. That is the engine. It's not one villain, it's not one bad policy. It's just that the market found the things you couldn't walk away from, and then it walked right up to the line on price, every single year. And all of those costs hit at the same time, specifically during the decade when you're trying to build something, your late 20s to early 40s. The exact window when your parents were buying houses and starting families. When they did it, a house cost 3.5 times their salary. For you, it's nearly 6, and that's before the childcare bill. There's one more thing worth saying, and it's uncomfortable. The fastest path to affording adult life right now is to already have assets before adult life starts, which is a polite way of saying it helps enormously if someone handed you a head start. First-time buyers using inheritances for down payments had hit an all-time high. The share of first-time buyers in the entire housing market has been cut in half since 2007. A record 26% of all home purchases in 2024 were paid entirely in cash. The housing market is slowly becoming a place you go if you already have wealth, not a place you go to build it. The people who most need the economy to work for them are the ones it's working for least. If you found this video useful, subscribing genuinely helps this channel keep making content like it. No pressure, just appreciated. Here's the sentence worth holding on to. Normal adult life was priced for what most people earn. It no longer costs what most people earn. The economy still grows. Productivity still increases. Corporate profits still hit records. But the specific costs of building a stable, ordinary life quietly got repriced for someone who already owns something, or whose parents did. You're not failing the economy. The economy just quietly rewrote the deal and forgot to tell you.